job easier?
Well, in our minds, it provides us with a tremendous competitive advantage in terms of recruiting and developing players. In terms of recruitment, they come to see a facility like this one and all the things that we can offer them above and beyond just on field. And that should help in the signing process. Again, if it's going to come down to dollars, but if things are relatively equal, we do feel that this will be an advantage for us. In terms of developing players, we have a beautiful dorm. We can control the nutrition. We control the quality of the food that our players are provided with. We have tremendous educational opportunities just off the field. In terms of the classrooms that we've got, we have small classrooms, large classroom settings. Begin with a foundation of Spanish and expand above and beyond there, whether it's educational classroom type settings, where it's traditional learning, or it's some life skills, from financial to relationship to other things. The programs that we're going to implement as we're down here. On the field, obviously, we have just beautiful facilities out there. We have an amazing tunnel, covered batting tunnel, probably the best on the island, that will allow us work even in bad weather. We've got great drainage on the fields, as we experienced yesterday with needing it. Would it allow us to get back on the field much quicker, and so we don't lose development time. We're close, relatively close to a handful of teams, so it's less time on the bus, more time on the field, and then more time developing. But for us, this is just a tremendous foundation for us in Latin America.
How important was it to maintain the continuity from here to Bradenton all the way through to Pittsburgh? I mean, so much of the programs, everything seems the same all the way through.
Well, this is one of our entry levels. We look at this obviously differently because we're talking 16, 17, 18-year-old Dominicans and some other countries, but it is an entry level. It's really no different than the Gulf Coast League. It's no different than State College. This is where we're introducing them to Pirates baseball, how we do things, how we expect things done, how we want them to do things, the discipline, the structure, the continuity, the consistency, the cohesiveness of our staffs, Yuki did a great job last year of trying to ensure that what we did in Pittsburgh is what we did in Venezuela, or what we're doing here in the Dominican, the same way that Jeff Bannister and Kyle ensure that it gets done in State College and in the Gulf Coast League. And it is important. It is important. We want them to understand what it means to be a Pirate and how we go about our business.
Yesterday, in bringing all those kids here, could you tell, as they look around the facility, their impression? I know we can't understand the language, but just that this is making an impression on the people that you bring in? Without
question. We heard from parents, we heard from Wisconsin, the players' agents, that this is an outstanding facility, and the kind of the wow factor, which is nice to get. It draws their interest in becoming Pirates because this is where they're going to work and this is where they're going to operate and function, whether it's for half a year, or in some cases 2 years. And then even talking with Renee, he heard it from the players, he heard it from the Wisconsin, whether direct conversations or overhearing, and there was definitely a buzz among the players that came to work out here yesterday.
As one example, yesterday, Bill Nutting, who speaks some Spanish, asked one of the young players what part of the facility did he like the best, and the young man looked at him with a big smile on his face and just said, everything. What's not to like?
You guys have done a good job in picking up what Neal said too about making it more of a seamless path from the Dominican toward the majors, obviously, in terms of just the workouts will be similar, and the facilities will be similar, and the nutrition is similar. How difficult was that in a very short amount of time? You guys have managed to make that a lot more linear.
Well, we've talked about playing the Pirate brand of baseball and doing it cohesively throughout the system, and we have to live up to that talk. And what we did here, which made it easy, Rob, didn't make it easy, but was critical in getting it done in a timely fashion, was that Trevor Gooby, who runs our Bradenton facility, came over here and really, under Dennis DePrey, took over this project as a construction project, and as it became close to being not at the end of the construction project when we got to, all right, now how are we going to operate the facility? So it really does, as Jen said, you look around and it's got a feel both from the building process and then from the operations process. Got a very much of a feel of Bradenton, so that these kids are not feeling some culture shock when they go over to Bradenton. Boy, things look similar. We do things the same way, both in terms of the rules are the same here for the dorm. curfew's the same. All the rules are the same for the dorm here as they are for the dorm in Bradenton. And of course, I think we're the only team that has a dorm in our spring training facility. I guess the Tigers still, Lakeland still uses some of the dorm. But to have those same rules so the players don't have to relearn those rules, it's got to be helpful to us. And then, most importantly, in terms of how we're developing these young men as baseball players, doesn't change as they go through the system.
Is this what you imagined back in January of '08 when we had that press conference to unveil the plans?
It is, I would like to say yes, but I could not have imagined it being this functionally outstanding and then just aesthetically beautiful. It's hard to imagine that when you're standing in the undeveloped farmland that we're standing on. Certainly we had seen some drawings already, but I couldn't be prouder of the way this facility came together than I am today.
I know this organization has emphasized using resources in the right place, since the resources aren't unlimited. How important is this in creating that championship caliber organization that you all speak of?
Well, I think it's critical to building a team the right way, particularly for a market like Pittsburgh. We're going back to the basics. We've said repeatedly that we're building this team the way everybody used to build teams and the way some organizations still do, and that's from within. And if you build a championship organization from within, you've got to be a major player in a market like the Dominican Republic. And quite frankly, we were not a major player here when we should have been. This will help make us again a major player in the Dominican Republic, which is critical to the overall goal of building a championship team from within the organization.
I think that's sort of a technical scouting question. When you look at the players here, whether they be the guys on the DS team or a kid just out at a tryout somewhere, how do you evaluate it? I mean, it's obviously a little bit of a different look than you get from an American college kid or even an American high school kid in a lot of different ways.
Without question, there's an enormous challenge to looking at a 16-year-old or 15-year-old, or in some cases a 14-year-old that's eligible to sign 2 years from now, and projecting what you're going to be. As a college player, you're projecting what he's going to be in 3 or 4 years. As a 15, 16-year-old Latino player, you're projecting what he's going to be potentially in 10 years. And it comes back to basic body movements, basic athleticism, frame, motions. Because there are some times now where they do things mechanically incorrectly to try to generate bat speed or to try to generate arm speed. So a lot of it comes back to frame, athleticism, and then in America with the draft, we may have seen a player for 3 years or 4 years or 5 years coming out of the draft as a college player, or 2 or 3 years, or see them play against elite level competition. So the known is much stronger. In Latin America, and this is where Rene Gallo and his staff does a great job of getting into the player's background, probably more so than other clubs, and trying to find out what makes that player tick. And it's hard. We're very different people than we were at 16 or 17, and never mind being dropped into a different country and a different environment, and maybe being given a lot of money to put into our pockets. So it is a challenge, but you try to work through a system, you try to identify traits of players that have been successful in the past, you try to identify traits of players that maybe that have failed in the past, and just intelligently and with an educated process.
I guess the only thing I'd add to that is that while I agree entirely that it is difficult, one, you have to have good people making those evaluations, and so it's hard, but you can't throw up your hands and say, this is too hard, we're not going to be in this market, because you look at every major league, you look at the major league rosters, and 40% of the players who are signing new contracts are from international markets, and the players in Major League Baseball, the percentage of those that come from international markets, and particularly here in the Dominican, I think is now 27, 28%. So you can't say it's very difficult, so let's not do it. You just have to have terrific people and working very hard.
Which we're fortunate to have in Rene Gallo. He has a long track record, and he has a great staff here, development staff here, does a great job of developing those players. And again, this resource just becomes another asset for us.
So you were able to spend time with Rene yesterday at the tryout. What was that like, in just him in this environment?
Well, Rene's energy, his knowledge, his passion, not only for the game but for the Latino player is a tremendous gift. The players feel his energy, they respect him, they respond to him. His relationship with the Buscones down here, as difficult as it is strong. And again, it's a mutual respect, so that Rene's able to do some things to get to know players to do some things that maybe other scouts aren't able to do because of his relationships and his length of time down here and his connections down here. But his energy for these players and his passion for these players and the way he goes about his business is infectious in a positive way.